What's up, everybody? I meant to do one of these last week, but I couldn't because I was busy. So we're going to make up for it. We're going to go over 2 episodes and kind of overall thoughts without spoilers beyond the 3rd episode, but maybe I can tantalize you a little bit, tease you a little bit. What's up? Apologies for being late. Yeah, I know I'm consistently late, but weather's a bit wonky right now. A little wonky. It's storming outside. Hail. Dogs and cats living together. It's crazy. It's snowing in Pasadena. And Star Trek, at least this season of Picard, season 3, is good. I have no explanation. Hug your children, call your mom, call an old friend. The end might be nigh. It might be nigh. But hello, welcome chat. Little late night stream here. So I'm going to usually do these in the morning, by the way. So I'm going to go back to doing these on Thursday in the morning around 10 or 11 Central Time. Hold on, I got to belch. Okay. I got a cool little button itself with this. Star Trek Picard. You know what? I know this. I got to get the episode names. I didn't get the episode names, and that's bad. Season 3, IMDb. This is great for people listening at home on Audible, Spotify, iTunes, or listening in your truck or doing whatever. Yeah, it's not very exciting right now. I was not totally prepared, but I'm doing this one solo. So episode 3 was 17 seconds. Where is and Disengage is episode 2. Episode 1 was The Next Generation. We are still getting things going. I'm going to give you some overall spoiler-free thoughts for the spoiler phobes out there. Normally, I wouldn't give a crap unless I think it's good. Then I don't want to spoil any potential surprises, and there are so many to come. So many to come. I saw somebody on Twitter today very accurately describe Picard season 3 as threading the needle between great characterization or nuanced characterization and fan service, which this does. And yeah, there's a lot of fan service, and I'm okay with it. I think this is really what needed to happen with Star Trek because it's been so bad. It's been so bad. I don't want to bury the lead. Star Trek Discovery, STD. Apparently you can get rid of some because it's over, but it's after season 5, which has been pushed to 2024. I am surprised it's happening at all. And my theory is that these companies really painted themselves into a corner with the identity politics BS. And now they're forced to continue with series too long because they don't want to look like the corporation that canceled a show with a person of color, as they say it. I hate that term, as a lead. That's part of the manipulation that's been going on with the identity politics. And the fact that it's been done with Star Trek makes it extra sick because nobody gives a crap. There are no bigots who like Star Trek. Okay. It's just been the dumbest argument of all time. Wouldn't have cared if the captain was a black female, as long as she was portrayed like a human being, which Michael Burnham was not. Michael Burnham has never been a character. I dare anybody to talk about any classic or memorable episodes from Star Trek Discovery, because there are none. Its legacy will be failure. And failure has been Hollywood over the last 6 years, failing upwards. Well, guess what? They're broke. They're out of money, particularly Paramount Plus, which tells you how stupid things have been, because the Sheridanverse is a massive hit. Some of the most watched television here in this country. And quite frankly, a lot of it's good. I like it. But Star Trek has been garbage. It has been garbage since 2000. Well, since it really ended in 2005. The Fool's Gold that was Star Trek 2009 that I even bit into ended up being just that, and ushering in just an unbelievable era of failure and denial by woke Hollywood. Because admitting defeat would be making the bigots right. Well, it turns out Star Trek fans or Star Wars fans or Doctor Who fans weren't bigots, but they were right. And that's what happens when you fan blame, when you do anti-fan marketing. You paint yourself into a financial corner that you cannot get out of. And we had a great economy 3 years ago, partially thanks to the president that most of Hollywood hated, but facts are facts. And now we're 3 years into just mush, and they don't have any money anymore. So look for a lot, and I mean a lot, of projects to be outright canceled or quietly shelved, never to be spoken about again or spoken of again. But I'll be sure to point it all out. Like, hey, where's that Rian Johnson trilogy? Is that coming anytime soon? What about Dan and Dave? They were supposed to do a trilogy too. What happened to that? Agatha Harkness over at D+, pushed off into next year, maybe beyond. Ironheart might be canceled. Echo has already been filmed, and you know they want to shit can that. Batgirl, the biggest example, canceled, 90% done. Before it was canceled, they were thinking about putting it in theaters because it did test higher than Aquaman and Black Adam, which are massive flops. Oh, and the other thing I talked about on Hot Toys today, I did get it absolutely 100% confirmed, and I hope to bring the person or persons who told me this on someday to corroborate it, because I really don't like doing the scooper thing, but you just have to trust me, bro. This won't surprise you at all. Disney, in particular, and Warner Brothers have been lying about their budgets to the tune of $50 to $100 million up, which means even if it's 50, almost half, if not half, of Marvel Phase 4 not only didn't make money, it lost it. It lost money. So this brings us to Star Trek Picard Season 3, which is an anomaly because the powers that be, Alex Kurtzman and Akiva Goldsman, two incredible hacks, frauds, who are better at the art of bullshit than actually making anything creative. Anything creative. Akiva Goldsman has been living off of his Academy Award, won for A Beautiful Mind over 20 years ago, and hasn't really done. And if anybody looks at his IMDb, it's crap. It is garbage. But he's going to continue to make Strange New Worlds, which I did not like. It's not Star Trek. Alex Kurtzman's probably going to announce more Star Trek, and then it's all going to get canceled because even Trek News, or one of the Trek hack sites, reported today that Paramount's out of money and Star Trek is probably done. So that's why I say enjoy Picard Season 3. It might be the last good live-action Star Trek you get in your lifetime. So it's just a little gift. It doesn't save Star Trek. It could, if anybody had half a brain in Hollywood, but they don't. They should be locking Terry Matalas down. They should be giving him the keys of the kingdom. And I don't want to sell Terry short, or anything, but I don't think it would cost him as much as Alex Kurtzman, who made The Mummy. Helped kill the Transformers franchise, helped kill the Spider-Man franchise. This guy's incompetence is legendary. But how do we get Star Trek Picard Season 3? Well, Alex Kurtzman doesn't care about Star Trek, so he lost interest in Picard, the thing he made a complete piece of trash. Same with Akiva Goldsman. He went off to Strange New Worlds. They looked for something new, shiny and sexy, and they forgot about the Picard thing. And this guy named Terry Matalas came in, who has worked on Star Trek in the past, came in and was able to do what he wants. Now, budgetary-wise, Picard Season 3, I don't know this for a fact. I'm just guessing based on what I see. It didn't get the money that Picard Season 1 got, Star Trek Discovery Season 1 and 2 got, which were astronomical. Star Trek Discovery was rumored to be upwards of $10 million an episode, mostly paid for by Netflix, as reported by Midnight's Edge many times. And then Picard Season 1 was $10 million an episode. And the viewing numbers, at least on Star Trek Picard, I know I got some for the shorts, which were under 100,000 people watching them. I don't know about STD. It was anywhere between 100, 200,000. If CBS or Paramount would like to correct me on anything, as Red Letter Media and yours truly have asked from the beginning, show us the numbers. Prove me wrong. Please do. So is it too little, too late? Time will tell. But we got a good start. I think we got good Star Trek. Is it the greatest Star Trek ever made? Certainly since 2005. We have one of the best new characters introduced in Star Trek in well over a decade, Captain Shaw. Riker is, I think, finally given his shining moment that the movies should have done. And Worf is freaking awesome in this. So we're at the first, the first 3 episodes. It's a build-up. I'm not going to say they're the best episodes of the series. It really starts to get going, especially towards the end of episode 4. Episode 5 is a banger. It's absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Yes, there's holdovers that we've talked about before. Picard's still a robot. That was freaking lame. They deal with it as best they can, and then later on, they outright retcon 2 of the worst decisions out of the 3 or 4 that they made with Picard, which makes me very happy. And it's again within the confines and constraints of Kurtzman Trek. So people have talked about the aesthetics. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with a lot of things, as long as I'm not given these constant doses of intersectional feminism, modern woke, semi-Marxist politics, and just some of the worst dialogue ever written for television. What we have is characters, I'll use my I statements, characters I give a crap about interacting with each other, again, in a nuanced way, something we haven't seen in Star Trek in well over a decade, going on 2 decades. So it's kind of a miracle this happens. And isn't it weird how this always happens when there's constraints? There's budgetary constraints. The powers that be just stop caring. The Joker is a great example. Not saying this is like as epic as the Joker was. I love that film. But it just, when the powers that be don't pay attention and the right creative gets involved and is able to do and hustle what he wants. And, excuse me, I have to sneeze. We don't need to see that again. Okay. Damn allergies. Slowing my roll. Where was I? You have a guy who can hustle, and here's where I think Star Trek Picard season 3 is a win, a rare, real win. Is it total victory? No, because as fans, we've taken a beating. We've busted our ass being fans. But we've taken a beating over the last few years by simply giving honest criticisms to varying degrees of saltiness. But the vast majority of all the fandom, especially Star Trek fandom, just wanted good Star Trek. That's all they wanted. We were called racists, bigots, white supremacists, Russian bots, the same crap and now it's like they're using it against like people like Graham Hancock, and it's just used against any argument that is either semi-questioning the establishment or outright questioning the established narrative. Which means they have no argument. They've never had an argument, and the customer is always right. A lesson Hollywood is about to learn. They've been pretty arrogant, and they've been the only game in town for a long time. They have never suffered losses they are about to suffer because they told half of their audience to screw off, and we did. We did. Even people enjoying Picard season 3 now are probably sailing the high seas because they don't want to give Paramount any money. I'm not here to tell you what to do or what not to do. It's not my job. And they brought it upon themselves. So even when they do something, right, it's unfortunate for the people who worked on this, especially this is a lot of Terry Matalas brought in some 12 Monkeys people. I like that show. You saw, I saw 3 actors, including Shaw from 12 Monkeys, which was cool. One you haven't seen yet. And it's unfortunate because it's an uphill battle automatically. It's created some pretty interesting conversations in the fandom that I think are good and healthy. I think, for one, honesty has to become above all, no matter what. Even the quote unquote movement. Got to be honest, got to be real, or you don't have a movement. It's just a narrative, So, if people honestly don't like it, then there you go. I got no complaint against you or any of that. And like what you like. And if you are done with this, like I've said many times before, I don't blame you. I'm not going to try to change your mind. But as I said, I think this is a massive win if you choose to see it. Now, is that choose to see Star Trek Picard or choose to see it as a win? That's for your interpretation. So, disengage. We find out, I'm going off of memory because I only just watched the 3rd episode, so I'm going to have to go off my feeble memory. Raffi, who is still around, is not my favorite character, but they make her tolerable, and she's not annoying by the end. It feels like it starts out as Raffi from Picard season 1 and 2 and kind of turns into just, a B Star Trek character. That's it. But it's because I think they pair her with somebody, with Michael Dorn and Worf, and it works. It works. So at the end of The Next Generation, we saw the attack on the Academy in San Francisco only killed 117 people. God, I thought a lot more died than that. But using a portal weapon, which was pretty cool looking. So she's part, and we've, she's got a mysterious handler. The USS Titan, which is a Neo Constitution class ship, which I think looks great. Captain by Captain Shaw. It was Riker's former ship. Of course, they refit it. And there is Old Man Picard. I think Patrick Stewart looks a little more alive in this series. He's still very old and he sounds very tired because he is old. And he's still got that voice that sounds like this. But I don't know if it's, I think it's because the rest of the Next Generation cast is there. It brings out the best in him because Next Generation was an ensemble show. It wasn't the Captain Picard show. Never was. He wasn't even my favorite character in the show. So I'm a Kirk guy. Kirk is the greatest. There's a little Kirk Easter egg coming up later on. Keep your eyes out for it. I think it's pretty cool. But we'll have to get to that. We're not there yet. So Shaw, bit of a by-the-book guy, bit of a dick. And there is cussing, and I don't like it. And I've heard all of the reasons for it, and, I could move past it if it was like once or twice, but sometimes it's not just once or twice, so I just wish it wasn't there. It's not necessary. You know what it reminds everybody of? Kurtzman Trek. That's what it does. But it's there. The things that gnaw at me are Robot Picard and the cussing, but those turn into minor things because we have an overall story that's interesting with, most importantly, compelling characters, including one Jack Crusher. So yeah, we have a couple of new characters who are interesting. Sorry, I need to get my reference going. Oh man, my mouse is not working now. Why? Ed Spaliers plays Jack Crusher. A son of Beverly Crusher. Now, I can hear you. I was asking the same thing. How's the math work out for that? That's having a baby pretty late in life. Well, it's the 24th century. Janet Jackson had a kid when she was 50. Still wouldn't recommend it now, but I think, in the future, you'll be able to work that out. I don't think that's a stretch. I don't think that's a stretch at all. So my favorite part about this episode was the big reveal, which we will get to. But we also have Ensign Sidney LaForge. Lots of nepotism in the Federation. I'm okay with that because she was really good. She would have normally, in Kurtzman Trek, been a captain by now, or she would have been, an ensign, but ordering around Captain Shaw, who would constantly have his hands cupped over his balls, like Pike did in Star Trek Discovery Season 2, and he'd be apologizing, and there'd be a lot of crying. But there isn't, because this crew acts like a crew. She follows orders. She kind of fanboys over Picard, which is kind of cool. And very likable character. Very likable character. Very like a normal human being. Which is weird. When you get somebody involved in a show who has experience in television, not only experience in television, but kind of likes it, it makes a difference. I brought this up before. Russell T. Davies, it made the rounds last month that he was critical of the new writers who just wanted to get in for representation, just wanted to get their name on something or on a resume, but didn't really give a shit about television or Doctor Who. And he said their scripts are garbage, to paraphrase. And he's not wrong. And very quietly, that's what everybody's saying in Hollywood right now. But if they speak out, they'll lose their job. But we need people to speak out. I've said this before. Hearing it from me, they can just dismiss the quote unquote virgin in his mom's basement. You know, all the shit we nerds have heard from day one. But they want our money. But they still hate us. Don't get me wrong. So that's why it's tough for real nerds in Hollywood right now to get jobs, because genre has become the only thing that's directing traffic in, and the people who normally write, you know, freaking soap operas like Dawson's Creek and garbage like that, Gilmore Girls, are writing genre, who have no effing idea what they're doing. Like, they brought in a Breaking Bad writer to write Tolkien. And I like Breaking Bad. It's a good show. I don't think anybody from that show is automatically qualified to adapt fantasy, especially from the king. Same goes for Star Trek. Some pretty deep lore. Fans who are kind of particular. One of the very first fandoms. Strong fandoms. Doctor Who predated it, but Star Trek had some of the earliest conventions. People were writing to it like each other with, like, you know, the old school way they used to write on with a pen and a piece of paper, and they would write letters to each other, geeking out over Star Trek. Crazy stuff. Yeah, it's one of the first. Didn't care. Kurtzman didn't care. Oh my God, I got to show this to. I wish I could share this right now. I'll screen cap it. So I'm on the IMDb page for Disengage, and I scroll down, and they have, this has happened with me. It happened with me with Lord of the Rings. But if you go to connections, did you know, trivia, goofs, quotes, and then it says connections. Referenced in Yellow Flash 2 Flashcast, Marvel's Ant-Man 3 tanks, Disney attacks fans, Hogwarts Legacy makes bank, Picard Season 3, Episode 2. There you go, Flash. You're mentioned in connections. I have screen capped that, by the way, for you. I can't share screens right now. It's just me. So, where was I? The first 3 episodes they're good. They're good. They're not great until you see the sum of all its parts. Now, I'm a weekly guy. I'm against binging. It will get people to talk about it more. But sometimes it means you got to kind of move a little bit. I would say episode 3 has slow points and 7 has some slow points. But man, does this show nail its landing. And you guys, again, are in for such a treat later. They've already set it up in episode 1. Not going to say what it is. But you are in for a treat. But episode 5 is where things like kick into high gear, and it becomes something, because you think it's one thing. And, well, by the end of episode 3, you find out it's another. It's completely another. But that's not all. I'll just say that's not all. We also have Amanda Plummer. Damn it. Get back there. Daughter of Christopher Plummer, playing Vatic. And you finally found out, and she is aboard the Shrike. And I, along with a lot of other people, when I saw the Shrike the first time, they just did a profile shot of it, and it just made me think of that Romulan mining ship from Star Trek 2009. I'm like, oh God, they are no. You know, Romulus is still blown up. I freaking hate that. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I think the Romulans are some of the best villains, and honestly, their best episode still remains in the original series that I just call Star Trek, Balance of Terror, and yeah, I just hate that. But it's not. It's actually a pretty cool looking ship, manned by a bunch of things that talk in clicks. Again, you can tell there was budget restraints, but I enjoy Doctor Who. I didn't care. I didn't care because the story took priority, and maybe that's what needs to start happening. I was talking about it with somebody else today. Remember the Matrix. Remember Marvel. Spider-Man, the first Spider-Man had budget restraints. Matrix, first Matrix film, budget restraints. MCU Phase 1, major budget restraints. I think all three of the first films had the same budget. And they managed to make money. Make a cultural phenomenon. And Star Trek is always it's television. It's about budget restraints. It takes place on sets, on ships. I'm fine with all of that, even if they're a little darkly lit. And listen, I know they're making stuff for the sexy home theater I've got and the nice TVs, but not everybody has those. Okay. Not everybody has those. But I didn't care because the story was good. Story was good. So they're out at the edge of Federation space. They were lured out there by Picard and Riker to rescue Beverly Crusher and her son Jack. They are being hunted. At first it was, I think it was Klingons. Then they said, and they were hunted by Federation officers. We get an answer to that in a little bit, like why it's so many different people. It looks like this vast conspiracy, which it is. They are confronted by the Shrike, and then we find out who's on the Shrike, and it's Amanda Plummer. And yes, she does look a little bit like Girl Hitler. And I think she's fine because she's like one piece to the puzzle. I'll just say that. She's just one piece to the puzzle. And she's a good actress. She was great in Fisher King, by the way. Love that freaking movie. Love that movie. And her dad was a legend. So she's got a pretty powerful ship that has been running around outside of Federation space, and it has all the weapons, including a portal weapon, which was stolen. You would think that would be bad enough, but it turns out this portal weapon, which was stolen and put to good use, destroying your enemies, was a simple distraction for something else that we don't know yet. Well, I know, but you don't know yet. For another weapon. And we finally, there's a great scene where they're trying to get everybody's Shaw's arguing with Riker and Picard, and one of the I can't remember if it's science officer or communication officer, I don't know which one it is trying to get their attention, and then she goes, "Captain," and they all three go, "Yes." I thought that was pretty good. But you see them working things out. Like Shaw's a dick, but like duty matters. And it turns out that Vadic wants Jack Crusher. So she's hunting, not something they have. She's hunting Jack Crusher. Nobody knows why. Jack doesn't know why. And Vadic says, "Hey, you got an hour to bring him aboard or I'm going to blow you to hell," basically. So they have an hour to think about stuff. And yeah, it's very Rathacon. Again, I don't care. I think Red Letter Media accurately described this as a TNG movie set in the TOS movie universe. And I would say that's very accurate. It's very accurate. There's some callbacks. Some are deliberate. I guess some aren't. Don't care. I enjoyed them. So they have an hour to figure things out. Jack is being, kind of an a-hole a little bit. He's being protective of his mom, and he kind of believes that Riker and Picard brought, the Shrike to them by coming to quote unquote rescue. He thinks rescue them. He thought he had everything handled, but he doesn't. A bit of a arrogant youth who gets humbled pretty quick. So, of course, they go back and forth. Shaw wants to just give him up because they find out that Jack Crusher has been basically a con man, had a bunch of different names, and he's been, stealing medical supplies and weapons and, being a bit of a thief, but a thief for good, kind of a Robin Hood. He saved a planet from a pandemic by giving some guns to the Fenris Rangers, who immediately ratted him out to Vadic. In the meantime, we have Raffi still trying to figure out with her mysterious handler who is behind stealing the portal weapon, which is a distraction. The mysterious handler at one point says you need to disengage. That's why it's called disengage. You're going to get yourself killed. We've already got 117 people killed. We don't need to make it 118, so just kind of back off for now. We'll regroup. And she says no, and she continues on. She is a former addict, pretending to be an addict for Starfleet Security, the very secret Section 31 with their badge. She doesn't have a Section 31 badge, though, so I don't believe it's her. I just don't. I don't believe she's really in Section 31. And she found out about the Red Woman, but she also needs to find out, who they're framing a Romulan, by the way, for stealing the portal weapon, so they can clean it up real nice because they have Frontier Day coming up, which is a big parade, which is a big celebration of Starfleet that they have coming up. So it looks like Starfleet's kind of covering it up and just trying to hush up to make the public and Starfleet feel more comfortable. I'm trying to get my names right here. So Raffi needs to go see a Ferengi named Sneed, played by Aaron Stanford. You'll know him from 12 Monkeys and Pyro from X2, but he does a good job. He's kind of, they call him a broker, but he's a gangster, and Raffi has to talk to her ex-husband, which reminds me of that horrible scene from season 1 with her son, some of the worst acting I've ever seen and worst dialogue, but they don't bring back son. The ex-husband's fine. And, she's still all about Starfleet over family, but I mean, it is kind of galaxy ending, yes, again, or Federation ending, we'll say, at this point. So he helps her find Sneed. She goes to Sneed, and they go back and forth, and he susses out that she is Starfleet, even after he makes her take whatever that drug is that you put it in your eye, and she takes it. She takes it. And passes out right before she's gonna die. She gets saved by Worf with the Klingon theme. And you just think it's like rocket science. It's like some genius, some beautiful mind saw the equations in physics and came up with the idea of we should probably put the TNG cast in the Picard show and Star Trek music. I'm a genius. And simplify it and just make it Star Trek and try not to reinvent something that didn't necessarily need reinventing. Sure, you're using modern equipment. You have modern props. You have a lot of toys you can use that you couldn't use 25 years ago or 40 years ago. We all understand that, but you still need to be Star Trek. So, yeah, Terry Matalas. Genius move putting Star Trek music in the Star Trek show. And it's really good. I'm going to buy it, the soundtrack, when it comes out. I want it to come out in vinyl. I will buy it in vinyl and listen to it a lot because it's really good. But yes, when Worf comes back, I was just like, for the first time, and this was like, it was great seeing Riker, and it's great seeing Riker act like Riker. But when I saw Worf again, like, I'm like, what is this feeling I'm feeling? I don't understand it. It dusted off my little Star Trek heart, and I'm like, oh, I feel it again. Whoa. And he looks like Worf. He doesn't look like a Klingork. And it was cool. And Michael Dorn kills it. Like, has not missed a step. And yes, Worf should have had his own show. Still could have his own show as long as Kurtzman and Akiva Goldsman, anybody involved with Kurtzman Trek, doesn't have anything involved with it. But probably not going to happen. But when I saw him, I was like, yeah. And I haven't felt like that has never happened with Kurtzman Trek or JJ Trek. Not once. Not once. Seven of Nine is much better and very Seven of Nine in the show. Not the angry lesbian. They do acknowledge the relationship between her and Raffi, and as I said in my last review, they did the most accurate thing that you do with any lesbian, have them break up. And the way they acknowledge it later is it's a pretty funny joke, I have to admit. Are there little digs at Kurtzman Trek? They're there if you can see them. They of course they have to tread very lightly because you're digging at your boss. I am of the belief that Alex Kurtzman is so aloof that he probably doesn't watch any of this shit. I mean, he didn't take the time to watch any older Star Trek before taking on the Star Trek franchise. Why would I believe he watches his own crap? So we get to the we get to the third episode, and again, I'm just going off memory, folks. I am going to do a video on Picard season 1 and 2, and Picard season 3. They will be separate. 1 and 2 will be together. 3 will be separate before I die. I'll just say that. That's the only. Well, I can't control that, but that's my intention. That is my intention. So at the end of episode 2, they're like, what's up with this Jack Crusher? Why is he so important? What's he mean to, and Picard's going back and forth. But then, Riker right away is like, tell me you're not seeing what I'm seeing. And Picard's all, don't speculate, number 1. Jack Crusher is Picard's son. And that's what we find out at the end. And Shaw, who was ready to turn him over, once he hears that, goes, God, dang it. All right, we're going to fight these guys. So he does the right thing at the end. I mean, still risking his crew, but he does the right thing at the end. And that's why I like that character of Shaw. Not unlike his character from 12 Monkeys, which I'm fine. Todd Stashwick should be in more stuff. I don't know why he isn't. He's got that Han Solo factor, I think. That's just me, though. Tavine, Lieutenant Tavine. Okay. That's the bald Vulcan lady. Couple of bald ladies, but it's not like there has been bald ladies in Star Trek before. And Lieutenant Mura, that's the other. I think that's. Yeah. All right. Jack Crusher is Picard's son. So now what do we do? Because they're massively outgunned. They're in this nebula, and I'm going to use it as air quotes because it might not be a nebula. And they get it starts out with a firefight. I'm skipping past some stuff, but there's a big firefight in the beginning, and Shaw gets injured. So Riker is captain. So we have Riker as captain, and basically Picard is his number one. They even acknowledge that in the show. And we get to see Riker be a captain. Now, Riker and Picard have great chemistry in this, and they're going back and forth on their kids. He lost his kid. Now, the way Riker lost his kid sucked in season 1. But now, if you just don't think about how he died and just think about him being a kid that is passed, they get into some real discussions. Riker gets into regret. They actually start the episode with a de-aging scene. You can really see the limits of their effects budget. And there are times you can see the limits of their effects budget. I was noticing this. And I mean, listen, if anybody out there has worked on Picard, I understand. I understand that your effects budget was minuscule compared to the ones from previous series, and you did your best. Not my concern. Because when you have a good story and good characters, you don't need to focus on stuff like that. It's when you have really bad dialogue, characters you can't stand in a horrible story, but you still got to review this. Your eyes start wandering. And your thoughts start wandering, and you're like, does that even make sense? And I use this analogy all the time. No, not every a lot of Buffy episodes don't make sense, but they're good. A lot of Angel episodes don't make sense, but they're good. And this one was directed by Jonathan Frakes. Well done, by the way. Well done. So Shaw is out of the picture. He's extremely injured, by the way. Like, he gets messed up. And Riker takes over, and Riker is being... So Riker and Picard had this conversation about losing their sons and taking advantage of what time you have. Picard did not have a very good conversation with Jack Crusher once he found out. He's like, you're basically an absentee dad. You haven't been in my life. I don't need you, Dad. Especially some 97-year-old robot. And Riker's like, no, you need to try a little harder, because you never know, like, what time you have left. And you can see Riker being a little cautious. So once he takes over the ship, his whole concern is, hey, and the Federation guidelines are clear on this when you're outside of Federation space, because Shaw repeated it. It's like, safety of your crew, number one. Do not engage. Don't just keep your crew safe. Get the hell out of there as fast as you can. So Riker wants to do that. Picard wants to, like, no, we're not going to be able to run. We should fight. We should at least fight. Go down fighting, And they have a legit argument. So things are starting out so good between these two and the chemistry, and then they get pissed at each other. Like, they're in opposite ends on this one. Riker is concerned about the safety of the crew. He doesn't think Picard is basically saying, you're being soft. Riker gets pissed, to the point where he's like, why don't you sit down, Admiral? It's like, ooh, my goodness. And it doesn't get any better after that. 7 of 9, and Jack is helping Captain Shaw. Captain Shaw can barely breathe. And Jack apologizes to him, like, listen, I didn't want any of this to happen. I'm sorry this happened to you. And Shaw just looks at him and goes, how in the hell do they keep finding us? Because the Shrike keeps finding them, even in the nebula. So something's up. Jack figures out it's blood in the water. So I forgot what it was. It was bacteria. There's a leak. And they figure out it's a saboteur. Somebody is sabotaging the USS Titan so the Shrike can find it. Also, we have Raffi and Worf trying to figure out who framed the Romulan, who stole for stealing the portal weapon, and it's basically a ruse. So they find out one guy who was, like, kind of drugged out, and they capture him, and I thought they were going to drill his eye out. They did threaten to rip his fingernails out, but they didn't drill his eye out. They played good cop, bad cop, basically. And then Raffi thinks the guy's kicking, so she gets him high with whatever the hell that drug is. And it still looks like he's kind of kicking from the drug, and he's screaming and squirming and stuff. In the meantime, we cut back to Jack and 7 of 9, who are looking for the gas that's leaking. That's basically making it easy to track the Titan, and they find out that it is indeed sabotage. 7 of 9 says, I'm going to go check the rest because the gas is leaking, and they have to put on a little gas mask. And Ensign, I'll just call him Ensign Suspicious from episode 1 when Picard was doing the inspection. In episode 1, there's the one guy who kind of went, who looks suspicious for good reason, because he was suspicious. He was the saboteur. Jack fights him, punches him in the face, and his face just goes all goopy, all gooey. And you go, no. No way is that a changeling. But it's a changeling. And at the same time, you cut to the other scene. The guy kicking isn't kicking from drugs. He's kicking from being away. Well, possibly. He could have been kicking from drugs, but I have to go back because he did have the that little, I forgot the name, little bong he's got to go back into. And he's a changeling too. And Worf is like, whoa. And then we find out that and they acknowledge it, after the Dominion War, the changelings, the Great Link. He even goes, how long have you been away from the Great Link? I'm just going to say there's more to it than that, but essentially, and I can hear you asking now, don't they have a way to scan for changelings on the Enterprise? You would think after the Dominion War, and that's a good question because Star Trek forgot things like transporter inhibitors in season 1 when the Daft Punk Romulans were able to beam directly into Soji's apartment. You would think every apartment building on Earth would have a transporter, inhibitor, right? You'd think so. It'd be really annoying to have people just transporting into your freaking house all the time. So I will say that gets addressed. The scanning for changelings absolutely gets addressed. Just hang on that one. So we have changelings. And it turns out that even though the Dominion War ended and Starfleet did introduce a virus and then introduce a cure, it did turn out radicalizing some. There was a sect that broke off, and that's all we know so far. Worf talks about it, and he doesn't say Odo by name, but he's all, I was contacted by somebody in the link, an honorable, did he say man? I can't remember if he says an honorable, I don't know if you'd say man, though. I can't remember what he said, but he basically refers to Odo. May he rest in peace, by the way. And yeah, it's changelings. And you're like, oh, that's cool. I thought it was cool. One of the, I don't know, I think one of the biggest mistakes from Star Trek The Next Generation is not doing a Next Generation movie about the Dominion War. They just skipped right past that. I was like, why? Like, that's the one thing I was interested in. It's the one thing I was interested in. Oh, well. So we have that mystery. We have Picard and Riker squabbling. And then Jack almost dies when he gets attacked by the saboteur and he sucks in all the gas and he is flatlining. And Riker, before that, told in the beginning of the episode, tells a story of his child's birth and how it was difficult. And he got called down to basically the hospital or whatever, the equivalent. And that was the longest, elevator turbo lift ride of his life, because he thought he was going to go down to a dead kid. Not a good feeling, by the way. When we thought we lost Logan, that was horrible. Don't ever want to relive that again. By the way, Logan made it through because he's a tough motherfucker. That's my son. So Picard has to go through the same thing later on. So I thought that was pretty cool. Sad. So he's worried, and he gets there. Jack is dead, basically, and they're trying to revive him. And they do. And the music lets us know they're about to revive him. You hear that build up. It's like, oh, he's going to get revived here. Still, no big deal. It's television. And Picard kind of gets a new sense of resolve after that. The thing about the Picard and Riker argument is they were in kind of a no-win situation. This is the way I interpret it anyway. And they both were right and both were wrong at the same time. And it turns out to be a giant disaster. Picard goes in and says, we need to attack them. And they're forced into doing that. And they take out the ship. The saboteur blows up one of the warp coils. And they can't, the warp is just done. And they're dead in space. And Riker turns around to Picard and says, you killed us all. It's like, oh, and that's where it ends. Ends pretty dark. So it looks like the Shrike is won and Titan is done. They're also, during this episode, they're getting these weird energy waves from inside the nebula. And it's happening at a pretty consistent rate, but they don't find out what it is. But what it's doing is when it does, it puts a power surge through the ship. So keep that in mind for the next episode, because they don't address it until the next episode. What this show does do that Kurtzman Trek doesn't, aside from telling a good story, characterization, competent directing, editing, music, the catering is better. Aside from everything, is it, for the most part, keeps track and I haven't watched it enough to pick through every detail, so I could have missed something. I'm just saying that. But Kurtzman Trek never kept track of its own canon. For example, God, I'm forgetting his name now. The captain from Star Trek Discovery season 1, Lucius Malfoy, we'll just say Captain Malfoy, was always putting these eye drops in or whatever. And later we found out that he is from the mirror universe and their eyesight is different. It reacts differently to light. But Michelle Yeoh's character, who is from the mirror universe, never has to do that. Never has to do that because they completely forgot about it. So they keep track of that, and there is consistency in character. You're not getting, you'll get a different Michael Burnham every episode. No, you get character progression. Riker has a great arc in this. Shaw has a great arc in this. Picard has an arc. And they do something with the robot Picard thing. They address it, and they initially say, what did Dave call it today? Hanging a lantern. They say, yes, it is robot Picard, but it's the same Picard. That's all they can do, really. Realistically, we would love for this just to be a series on its own that doesn't have to harken back to any Kurtzman Trek. That's just not a reality. I wish it was so. I'm sure Terry Matalas wishes it was so, but it's not. So I think they did the best they could. But hang on to your hats. If you're at this point in the series, when I saw the first episode, I'm like, you know what? I didn't hate it. I didn't want to throw anything at the screen. I wasn't screaming at anything. There was a couple of, because it reminded me of Kurtzman Trek. Watched the second episode. I'm like, I felt pretty much the same way, a little better. It felt like it was a little bit of an improvement. I'm like, okay, that's 2 episodes in a row that I'm not hating. That is much further than I've gotten with Star Trek Picard season 1 or 2. I think in my review of season 2, because I saw some familiar Star Trek stuff, I went, hey, I saw some familiar Star Trek stuff. I'm going to call it like it is. But then it went to shit. And honestly, if you look back, it's all shit. But this one, I'm like waiting for the rug to be pulled out, right? By the 3rd episode, and this isn't the best episode, excuse me, in the series, but as I've said, it improves as it goes on. I'm like, okay, that's 3 in a row. I didn't freaking hate it. I like this guy Shaw. I like Shaw. I'm not hating Jack Crusher. Raffi is less annoying, and Michael Dorn was brilliant, and Jonathan Frakes Riker is just brilliant. So I'm like, okay, and with that, it makes Patrick Stewart better, who's still old, okay? But at least they don't have him, like, being an action star, right? And they still have him, for one, he's not in the background. In Picard season 1 and 2, it just felt like, well, we need this guy here. I know the story's like revolving around him, but we just need this guy here to pull in the fans. But we're going to focus on all of these new characters you could give a shit about. All but Raffi have been fired. They brought back Laris just in the beginning of episode 1, and she's quite frankly the only thing I ever complimented, even though she was an Irish Romulan, which made no sense. The cheeky fuckers. Oh, what the fuck was that? But she looked good, especially in a Romulan makeup. Does that make me weird? Yeah, I don't care. So at this point, I can understand if you're like, turning point are the next 2 episodes. And if you don't like it after that, you don't. But the turning point for me is the 4th episode has a great character moment for Patrick Stewart at the end. And then there's like just epicness in the 5th episode. That's all I can say, because I cannot ruin, if you're a fan of Star Trek The Next Generation, ruin it for you. And like I said, I think this is it. This is the last good live action Star Trek us 50-year-olds are going to get in our lifetime. And maybe ever. Because the genre thing is starting to wind down. It's awfully expensive, maybe say for fantasy right now, but they'll find out quickly on that. Money's drying up, and you'll probably see a lot more indie stuff, a lot more lower budget action stuff. I already heard John Wick 4 is pretty fucking awesome, and those films are just cheaper. They're just cheaper, which, sucks. So much of this, and that's what we were trying to point out and trying to get somebody who makes decisions with money to listen. Some of us were better than others, okay? But there was a shit ton of channels out there going, stop this. We're Star Trek fans. We have been. We're the money. We're the ones you count on. And I know you want to bring normies in, but this ain't it. This is not going to bring normies in. Doing your fake weed and speak garbage Trek didn't work. It wasn't profitable. Star Trek, I promise you, Kurtzman Trek is the CW of Paramount. It didn't turn a profit. It didn't fucking move the needle. It didn't bring in subs. If it did, why are they having to rebrand? They're rebranding Paramount Plus for a second time in under 2 years, by the way. Used to be CBS All Access, what I lovingly called, along with many others, CBS All Ass. And now they got something that's way more successful, and they don't need to spend a bunch of money on Star Trek. And I'm not saying like the Sheridan-verse is cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than Star Trek, and they get a lot more people, like actual millions of people watching. So let's go to you guys. I would say first 3 episodes put together, 6.5, 7 out of 10. But the series overall that I have seen, 7.5 out of 10, maybe 8. Maybe 8. The TNG movie or TNG season 8 that you never thought you would get. They have to do a lot of things because people got older. And I think it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I don't care. That's not the issue. The issue is, am I getting a bunch of intersectional feminist woke garbage? And then aside from not getting that, am I getting a good story with good characters? And the answer is no. Intersectional bullshit. No woke garbage. This is not woke. Yes, I'm getting nuanced characterization and new characters that I like, including Sidney LaForge, Jack Crusher, and especially Captain Liam Shaw, which is the best new Star Trek character in decades. Decades. All right. The Peacekeeper of Chi for $5. Why not have John Delancey's son come back to play Q and bring Picard back to being human robot Picard solved? I thought they would use Q to turn him into a human again. I thought they would even do that in the bad season. Editorial must have kept them from doing that. To the rest of that, I will say this a lot. Now, if I thought the show was shit, I'd just tell you. But I don't. So I'll just say wait and see. Wait and see. Jess Pena for $1.99. Gary, your thoughts on the cartoon Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes? Fucking brilliant. Like Marvel finally, like Spectacular Spider-Man, Earth's Mightiest Heroes were brilliant cartoons and both canceled because of the Disney sale. You have Lizard Eyes, says Paul, 1978. Do I? I'm frozen right now. Hang on. Why am I frozen? My camera did that twice. Hang on. I'm going to have to turn it off, and you're going to have to look at this. It's probably because of fucking Chrome. Hang on. Hang in there. I'm live streaming right now. I bet you that's Az. Yeah. Thanks, Perry. Yeah, that's the second time my camera has frozen. Let's see if it unfreezes. Let's see if it unfreezes. One moment, please. Nope. All right, so I got to do this. Man, it looks like I'm about to get a proctology exam right there. Moon River. Okay, I got to deactivate it. Then I got to turn it on. I got to put back the intro. I'm going to read a couple soups with the thumb up, then I'll be back, okay? I'm sure you guys will find without seeing me. I'm sure you are fine without seeing me. Okay. Do I have lizard eyes? I never tell. I would never tell if I'm one of the reptilians. Just don't tell David Icke, okay? Don't tell David Icke or Alex Jones. The Grizzly for $10. I don't know if you heard but Variety did an interview, and apparently he let slip that EA is doing a Dead Space movie or TV show. Would you be interested in it? Probably not, because I wasn't interested in the video game, and I have I do believe things are turning around with woke Hollywood, but I have zero faith in them right now. Zero. Less than zero. Less than zero. All right, we're turning the camera back on. Let's hope this works. Let's, pray. Everybody pray. Pray to the Lizard King. I can do anything. That's weird. I have lizard eyes. I've never heard that. I've had a lot of you look funny, you're an idiot, you're a bigot. Nobody's ever said I had lizard eyes. All right, we're gonna see if this works. Hey, it worked. It worked. Thank God. All right. James Morrison and Grizzly, thank you. For your sake, I hope the movie is brilliant. James Morris for $5. When Picard started barking orders at the end of episode 2, I almost jumped out of my chair. It took 3 seasons, but Jean-Luc finally got his balls back. Exactly, James. I did not point that out. Like after the Jack Crusher thing, like, yeah, he starts barking he becomes Captain Picard again. For the first time in God. Listen, the Star Trek Next Generation movies, for the most part, weren't good. All right. But I didn't I hated Generations and I hated Nemesis. Insurrection was like a bad 2-part episode, but I would still take that over any Kurtzman Trek. And First Contact was silly, but I thought it was fun. And I enjoyed the hell out of it when it came out. I did. And it's got a great soundtrack. So I don't freaking hate it. I don't hate it. But they're not like good either. And again, Generations can freaking die. I can't stand that. That's why in my headcanon, The Return is actually Kirk coming back. It's a great book, co-written by William Shatner. And as I said, keep an eye out for an Easter egg. An Easter egg. That's cool as fuck. I saw that and I went, oh my God. There's a couple of them that are really good. But my favorite little moments are the 2 retcons of the really shitty decisions. And should I say this? No, I won't say it. You're in for a huge treat towards the end. If you're a Star Trek fan, you will be very happy. But yeah, James Morris, I could not agree more. It was great to hear, even if it was a little raspy, hear Picard barking orders. Andreas Antonio Gonzalez for 150 Uruguayan pesos. Vadic is a bad villain. It's like a scraped Power Rangers villain waiting for Mikey Spock on her angel suit to bring Power Rangers on board to fight the minions of Vadic, and the ship goes Megazord. She hams it up. She hams it up a little bit, but I would say it's no different than some other villains I've seen in the past. Is it the best? No. I thought she would be absolutely cringe. I thought she would be, I'm like, oh God, here comes a girl boss villain. It's going to be fucking lame. But as I will say, wait and see. Now, if you still don't like it, then okay, that's cool. That's cool. But wait and see. Wait and see, because she's just a piece of the puzzle. I'll just say that. She is a bounty hunter going after Jack Crusher for the price on his head to entities who are outside of the Federation, who we don't know are yet. She smokes on screen. You don't see smoking on screen very much. So for that, I like that middle finger to that a little bit. But no, I don't think she was necessarily a bad villain, because she's not the only villain. Just leave it at that. The whole Riker speech about doing anything for his child would work better if he did not let his son die for some bullshit rule, says Mega Reacts for $5. Yeah, I just have to forget that part. Because Riker wouldn't have given a fuck about a ban on synths to save his son. You are right there. So that's why I mentioned, I'm like, if you just forget like how they made his son die, which was freaking retarded, and if you just focus on the good dad speech of the, so happy to meet you again in Las Vegas in April. It says Trucker Mark for $5. Can't wait to meet you again either, Trucker Mark. Hail to the truckers. Let's be honest. This show promises I didn't see changelings on the menu. No, Craig Road Jr. for $5. There is there's some DS9 in this. A little bit, thematically. There's some DS9 love. Dr. Scooter Jones for $9.99. Star Trek After Dark with Gary. After Picard Season 3 and the Orville, can Paramount give the keys to Terry Matalas and Seth MacFarlane? Also, Riker, Worf, and Shaw are the best. They are, Dr. Scooter Jones. They are. I would like that, but when has Hollywood ever been known to be smart? Not often. When we get something good, it's usually an anomaly or pure luck. And that was before identity politics and woke Hollywood just destroyed everything. And now, it's weird. I didn't watch Babylon, but I know what it's about. Okay, it's about the transition from the silent era to the talkie era. But it is interesting that movie came out during another paradigm shift in Hollywood, the formerly prominent era to the less prominent era, the post-movie star era. Is it frozen again? Good God. All right. What is going on? That's been happening a lot. Hang on. I'll go through that. While my camera is unfreezing. Oh, there is something going on with the computer. I'm just going to have to go to Meta PCs. I'm still in the old one. Fucking Windows 11 shit. WG for $100. Great work, man. Here's a little cookie. Here's the cookie jar. To see you in Vegas. See you in Vegas, WG. It's only 2 months away. Cheers. Thank you for the donation, for circumventing Mama Susan. I'll be back on camera in a second, folks. I think I know what it is. But it's like, I'm just going to have to restart it. I can't fix it during the stream. So I'll be back on camera for freezes again. I'll just keep turning it on. You guys can meme the hell out of me. I don't care. Bradley Burnett for two $10 super chats or donations. I think Amanda Plummer as Vatic is a changeling, is channeling, a bit of her dad as General Chang. I do believe she is too. I do believe very much she is. A little manic, just the right amount of over the top at times. Also, the look of her crew reminds me of the Sycorax from the Christmas Invasion. They totally remind me of the Sycorax. Sycorax! In my tip of the nooner, I said I started a channel inspired by all of you guys. I didn't name it then, FYI. It's Duke Devil 95. Duke Devil 95. So if you want to support our friend Bradley Burnett, who is a huge supporter of us, his channel is Duke. It's all one word. Duke Devil 95. I'm actually editing my Picard review, episode 2 and 3 now. But damn you, Terry Matalas. Worf now have to care about Raffi's story. You do. Well, it's smart. He's like, what am I going to fucking do with this, with Raffi? Right? I'm guessing there's certain things you get stuck with in the world. And nothing against the actress. They had nothing to work with. I understand this, okay? Because Jerry Hall is so much better in this series. And it's a 7 to 9, I remember. And by the way, she's still looking good. Jerry Hall's still looking good. So I will say that her working with Worf makes it so much more tolerable. Let's be real. Gary, I'm going to repeat the same thing I said on Az's channel today. Reshoots are mulligans. Mulligans are free. Ergo, Phase 4 continues to be financial success. X-Ray Girl can explain the math, I'm sure. I'm sure she can, but she's not here right now. She's probably playing freaking Hogwarts. All right, we're going to try this again. Sorry, folks. I have to go back to the frozen screen. Got to deactivate. Go back to this. Give it a minute, and then I'll turn it back on again. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. It's the USB. I think I have a 4K camera link, and it got a little messed up in my travels, and I think it's faulty. If you want to know the technical, so my Canon EOS uses a 4K camera link to go into the HDMI. The USB portion of it got bent in my travels, and I think it's intermittently fucking up. So I need to order one because I'm currently recording a video. Would you guys like to know what it's about? I'll kind of tell you. I think it's time for another top 5, don't you? I think it's time for another top 5. So Perry and I are working on another top 5. I wrote out the first third today. So it should be done in a few days. Whenever it comes out, it comes out. YouTube has been funny since they changed over to the shorts, prioritizing shorts. Funny, I mean, like fucked up. Like every time they change something, every time they take away a dislike button or add a join button or add a feature, the algorithm fucks up for like a month and a half, and it takes a while to work itself out. That's been my observation and experience on YouTube now, regularly working on it for 4 years, although the channel's 9 years old. And yes, it was 5 years before anything started happening on this channel. Yeah, I'm sure it'll work itself out and be a little less better than it was before, like it does all the other times here on YouTube, but that's just life. And I have zero control over it. Jeremy made a good thread on it. I think it explains it pretty well. All right, we're going to try to turn on the camera again. Let's see if this works. I'll read a super chat while it's turning on. We've got Big Worm. Hail, Gary. Got to turn yourself up, my man. Terry Trek is the solution. Live long and prosper. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Dude, am I not loud enough? There's not much I can do about that. Not much I can do about that. It is all the way up. So we've got Orden Royce for $20. I'm sorry, Gary, but as much as I admire your opinion, as long as Discovery and Strange New Worlds are still out there, I can't bring myself to watch Picard Season 3. I'll wait till the next thing and then try again. I totally understand that. But I'm telling you right now, I can promise you this as I get back on camera. Or not. Hang on there. There we go. If you mean like next thing, like original thing, then I get it. I totally get it. If you mean next Star Trek thing, yeah, it's dead. So you're just going to get me like this. The camera link is dead. Yeah, it's just not working. That's weird. Piece of shit. Let's try it one more time because I don't give up. I'll get back to that in just a second. Good thing I have a backup camera. Hopefully that'll work. All right. Let me see. Is there a live shoot? Yep. Okay. There's that. Is this some stupid all right, let's try this trick. I'm going to try to add another capture device. Let's do another one. Nope. Looks like it actually is OBS. OBS. All right, so you're just going to have to look at the thumbnail. I apologize. All right, so the next thing is nothing. This is it. But I don't blame you. I don't take Discovery and Strange New Worlds and Picard season 1 and 2 and Lower Decks and Prodigy seriously. I don't respect them. I don't. They aren't Star Trek. The problem is there's so much of it, but there's no danger of a next generation thinking like this is Star Trek because the kids didn't watch this. Period. This was made and watched by a smaller audience than the niche audience that Star Trek actually is. Ray Drake, victory is life, and this is a victory. So, again, I respect that you have been abused, you've been mistreated as a paying customer, disrespected, and they haven't earned you back. They have to earn you back. And they have not done that. They have failed in doing that, and you do not have to apologize for that. Period. But again, how this is a win is while their name is on it, Kurtzman, Goldsman, Christian Bale, who isn't even there anymore, had nothing to do with this series. Zero to do with it. You had somebody come in and respond directly to fan criticism, reach out to fans. While technically, I don't see myself as a media critic, but if like entities do, I have no control over that. Okay. I am a fan. I am a paying customer. I am the same dude I was at the comic shop. That's all I am. I am a fellow member of the audience. I am in the audience. I am not above the audience. I am not a critic. I didn't go to any schools for any of that shit. I've just been a fan of this stuff my entire life. Does that make me an expert in anything? No, it doesn't. But what I will say is you had a showrunner who not only tried to respond to our criticism as Star Trek fans, all sides of it, and talking about not being able to please everybody. You're not going to be able to please everybody. That's not even realistic. But if we get like 75% of what we want, and at least 100% of I'm going to try to make the best Star Trek I can make without shoving identity politics down your throat or even putting it in at all, that's a win. It's also a win that we got a good story, and it's also a win that one person actively reached out to talk to people and have conversations and listen, which is all we ask for. I'm not looking for like it wouldn't hurt. I wouldn't hate it, but I've never asked for a Star Trek that reflects my personal politics, which are all over the place, man. I know what people say, but are mostly our detractors, but they're wrong because they don't know me. And I am very much a freedom, individualistic person, freedom-based person. You leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. I don't like rules. I don't like authority. I don't like mass centralization. Taxation is theft. But I also believe in freedom of expression. I think there should, I'm not full-on anarchist. I think there should be some basic rules, like keep your fucking hands off kids and don't teach kids any weird shit. But as an adult, do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. If it makes you happy and you're not hurting anybody else. Those are my politics. That's it. But when you have somebody who even doesn't agree with all your politics, but still willing to listen to you as a fan, because we mostly agree on most things. What the system tries to do is pick apart the things we disagree on and focus on them all the time. That's why I constantly point out woke shit, identity politics shit, because it's extremist. It's an extremist point of view. It's authoritarian, and they took their mask off when the coup happened. Who were the biggest authoritarian assholes during the coup? Rock stars, actors, producers, directors. All of the rebels of society turned out to be the system. Frauds. The guys who looked out for the little guy wanted to be the most compliant and demanded that you be the most compliant because you might jeopardize their massive wealth. And they're a bunch of fucking hypocrites, and they'll say anything to make them look good to the little people so you don't go and burn down their fucking mansion. But I think it's really good when people reach out and talk and try to find a common ground and common understanding. And the fact that they're even talking to us, and, it's not a bribe. It's like I'm confident in this work. Look at it. And I didn't get it from Paramount, by the way. Did not get it from Paramount. Paramount would not want me watching the show. They don't want my good review. They have me blocked. But we need to recognize the real tangible victories that we have. Are we going to change anything? I don't know, but we can't. I wish it was a reality that we could all just walk away and let it fail like it should. Just like banks should have failed back in 2008, but they didn't. And that's not a reality. Because entertainment is an institution. It's part of our culture. It's a part of the fabric of this country. We cannot abandon it, but we can change it. And there's a lot of ways to change it. Part of that change is the Iron Age, making your own shit, creating some real competition as things fragment. And I think people will. It's already started. It's going to take time, but it started. The other thing is maybe one industry just gets sick of losing money and abandons all of, or gets away from all of the freaking wolves that they let in. Challenge accepted. The most memorable moment of Star Trek Discovery is when Michael Burnham discovered that it was Jennifer Lawrence who was powering the magic bullshit drive, and then had a good cry with her boom. Brother Ruddock for $10. Okay, you got me there. Jennifer Lawrence was the mushroom drive. About Picard Season 3, Kurtzman pops out in every corner. The dilithium gas that never was a thing. It wasn't dilithium. It was something else. It was called something else, but it wasn't dilithium. And it was part of a sealer. I can't remember. But keep in mind, Terry Matalas worked on Enterprise, Voyager, and was a PA on DS9. So this isn't a Kurtzman dude who doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, Terry Matalas knows his Star Trek. The portal, the black hole portal thing, I think that's tech. For one, it's proximity. So you can't just put a black hole on the other end of the galaxy. You can only do it in that proximity. And it was new technology. I don't know. That didn't bother me. And Picard insulted by Riker. I think Riker can insult Picard because they've been friends long enough and they had a legit argument. But here's the difference. I'm going to spoil something for you, Andre. They talk about it later. And they admit their faults. And they had good conversation about it. And it tells you why they had that argument. So the big difference from Kurtzman Trek is somebody would insult Riker, or somebody would insult Picard, and he'd just sit there and put his head down and say he was sorry. Not the case here. Not the case here. Even when the big argument is Crusher and Picard Crusher not telling Picard about a kid. I think a lot of people have been complaining about that, but I thought that argument was, listen, I think it was for the circumstance the best you can do. Them having a 20-something-year-old son when they're that elderly, okay, I can buy it in the 24th century. Beverly Crusher being gone for 20 years and hiding a kid from Picard. The argument is that she knew how to protect her son, but she didn't know how to protect his. And he had made it pretty clear that he wasn't a kid guy. And when they had their little interlude, he took off. And they had tried to make it work a bunch of times. So it's up to you when you hear that argument, whether you buy it or not. I bought into it. Barely, but I bought into it. Just a reminder that we got another chapter of the Gilgamesh story before we got Winds of Winter. Oh, that's an older super chat, but that's funny. That is true. I did tweet about that. Where was I? But Andres Antonio Gonzalez, thank you again for let me get the amount right, the 75 Uruguayan pesos. Your opinion is respected here. You can disagree with me. That's okay. We can still be friends. Little late to the party. Episode 3 Picard was the best Trek since Turnabout Intruder. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Says Julio Scissors for $10. Zur O'Cool for $10. Riker telling off Picard, I get it, but Riker always saw him as a leader, mentor, and a person to aspire to. I was surprised by him ordering Picard off the bridge. Thoughts? It's meant to leave you going, what the fuck, at the end of that episode, but they talk about it in the next episode. They do. And it was surprising to see. It was surprising to see. The Grizzly for $2. Also, are you going to do another Hogwarts stream? Yeah. Yes, I am. Sooner than later. Gary Potter and the Bigots of Azkaban is coming. I texted Gary again, folks. He will be back. Thanks, Eric. You didn't have to super chat that. You could have just said it. Yeah, shit. Yeah, I know I could fix the camera, but I can't do it this stream because I would have to get up, unplug the camera, plug it back. I mean, you don't need to see me that bad. I've only watched the 3 episodes, but did you notice her finger movements reminiscent of Chang when Vadic fired her weapons? Yes. I do believe that it's an homage, and that's part of that probably went into the casting, getting the great Christopher Plummer's daughter, who's a pretty damn good actress herself. Pulp Fiction, Fisher King, 2 in particular. She was just in a little bit of Pulp Fiction, but she was great in Fisher King. Neurotic, kind of weird actress, but yeah. 200-watt studio for $5. Loved seeing Beverly do her doctor stuff and Worf rattling on about his houses and lineage. Again, yes, we did get action Beverly in the beginning, but then she becomes Dr. Beverly Crusher, like almost immediately. GJJ for $20. My 70-year-old mother who got me into Star Trek told me not to watch new Trek, but I might try the free week to see season Picard. Yeah, there is a free week. I'd say if you want, take advantage of it. I do believe if you use the word Picard, you get it for free. I'm not selling anything for fucking Paramount Plus. I would say take that free week, watch Picard, and definitely watch Tulsa King. I got through 1883. I liked it a lot. I'm halfway through 1923, and it's pretty fucking good. It's pretty good. Okay, I read that one. So let me check one more thing. Sorry, again, camera issues, folks. Got to get that worked out for tomorrow. There we go. Sorry for the long silence. Bradley Burnett for $10 more. I've seen a bit of Star Trek fan since 1980. Here's my analogy of Picard Season 3, TNG Season 8. Yeah, I'm starting to call it TNG Season 8 because I hate calling it Picard Season 3. I really do. We have been in a desert for years. Now we found a tiny oasis. We know it won't last long because the desert will return, but we're going to enjoy it while we can. It won't come again. That's a great analogy. Bradley Burnett. But I tell you all, if you're angry at Kurtzman Trek, I've said this from the beginning, whether it's fair or not to the creators is immaterial because life's not fair. If you were attacked, you were attacked for so fucking long and called, like, they politicized Star Trek. They used it as a platform. Alex Kurtzman admitted it. I have it in many videos. I'm the one who found the fucking audio. And they chose sides in an election, which was just, that is so fucking dumb if you are in a business. And I don't care who you voted for president. I don't give a shit. But choosing sides is telling people who may not agree with you politically to fuck off. That is just suicide. And now it's very strange that the percentages of ticket sales being down, at the box office is very close to the percentage of people they told to fuck off. Like I said before, it's not fucking rocket science. Republicans buy sneakers. And all this political bigotry that I've seen from Hollywood, they're paying the price. Yes, there's other factors. The quality has been shit. Things are watered down and saturated because they played the identity politics game. Corporatism has come in and played the identity politics game. They're trying to write stories based on analytics and not on concepts and characters. They're remaking things again and again. Fucking Peter Pan. Disney is remaking their animated movies, and they're just not stopping. And it's so cringe. It's laughable. It's laughable. So they brought this all on themselves. But same with House of the Dragon. If I see something and I like it, I don't know why I have to say this out loud, but it's the internet. I'm going to tell you I like it. I am. But, it's good to question absolutely everything because it's not like there isn't people on YouTube who will just like something for sponsors. As a matter of fact, that's most of the entertainment sphere. I don't give a shit if somebody calls me a grifter. For me to be a grifter, that would mean I actually like Captain Marvel and I actually liked the Eternals or Ant-Man. Which just isn't the case. But you have people who rely heavily on advertisers, not just on YouTube, but their own personal sponsors and advertisers, which means they have to stay in a very positive lane. And it's also brought in a lot of frauds, people who just don't know what the fuck they're talking about, don't know anything about movies, TV, film, don't know anything about genre. And yeah, it brings it in on the other side too. People think it's an easy buck. I don't know why in the hell you would choose my route or anybody else's route, the route of me. It's a Gundam critical drinker. He does pretty fucking well, but we're not going to get love, and I'm okay with that. So when we occasionally get respect, actual respect, like I want to talk to you man to man, that's respect. Especially when it's a person who hasn't actively gone out and completely shit on the fans. I think occasionally Terry has said some things on Twitter towards fans. This is about a year ago I saw. I wouldn't do. Twitter can be Twitter. Twitter can be Twitter. Occasionally I'll respond to somebody when they're being just extra retarded, like the Amazing Atheist. But other than that, Like, it'll be with a word, and then I'll move on about my day because I got better things to do. Fans will be fans. Fans will be fans. They're always like this. They're always going to be like this. There's always going to be people on Twitter criticizing everything you do, but that's part of fandom. You take the good with the bad. You take the good with the bad. And I think fandom is mostly good. But there's always been such an adversarial relationship between creatives and fans, and this goes way back. Never really understood it. It's a lack of gratitude and this attitude that Hollywood has of entitlement. They like to the entitled fan. Go fuck yourself. You're the entitled Hollywood. Oh, they'll just come flock to us because we're Hollywood. I don't know. Hollywood's not it's not a sexy name anymore. It doesn't mean what you think it is. It's woke Hollywood. It's garbage. It's in a town that's surrounded by garbage and homeless people. So entitled Hollywood is getting their comeuppance. There's going to be a lot of people really happy about it. And can you blame them? Can you blame them? But when we get something good, or at least when I see something that I think is good, I will tell you it's good. And this is good. This is good. All right. Orden Royce for $20. If Terry is as good as you say, then maybe they will make the mistake of giving him a series on his own of his own to work on. Contrary to how I sound, I am a believer in redemption. Oh, dude, it's all good, Orden. I am too, and thank you for the $20. And yeah, I mean, I think Terry knows how to make fun TV. He knows how to have fun. Maybe he's a bit old school like that. Terry's from the school of like before 2016, we'll say. Zero Cool for $10. How does stolen tech get so close to the central command of the Federation? Should be heavily defended. Well, they address that. I think you got a hint by finding out who's involved in the third episode, the Changelings. But you're like, wait a minute. Shouldn't they be like, we just fought this huge war against the Dominion, the Link, the Great Link, the Changelings. Isn't there a way to scan for them? It gets addressed. 200 watts. By the way, Kurtzman-Trek would not address it. That's the big difference. They would just move along. Dorn stepped right back into his character. Even Troy had her Betazoid accent this season. Yeah, towards the end. In the beginning, in the flashback scene, it wasn't totally Betazoid, but at the end, it to me, it wasn't. But it gets there. It gets there. Maybe there's a little bit there in that flashback. But yes, you're right, 200 Watt Studio. Riker called out Picard all the time in the series. If he was on the ship of First Contact, he would have called him out then, says Knight of Solar for $5. Yeah. I mean, this was like an extra harsh call out, but you're right. I think what people, Knight of Solar, I think what people are sensitive to, rightly so, is like Picard in season 1 and 2 was being yelled at by Raffi, 7 of 9, Admiral sheer fucking hubris, like everybody. And he would just go, I'm sorry. He had no fucking balls. So Picard finds his balls, and it takes a couple of episodes for him to truly find his balls. His robot balls, but they're balls. Pixie 27, thank you for the $2 super chat. I greatly appreciate it. All right, we're gonna wrap things up, folks. It's been fun. I'll be back Thursday. I'll be back next Thursday with Picard in the morning, and then maybe I can wrangle Dave Cullen and stream with him because I've wanted to do it for 3 years. He's honestly one of the most requested people for Friday Night Tights for any show is Dave Cullen, that damn ginger who's probably asleep right now. But Dave, if you watch this, next Thursday, 10 a.m. Central, which would be something in your weird country. But early. I'm just kidding. I love your country. And I would like you to join me. And maybe Az can join us too. Maybe we can have a little Star Trek discussion. I can't wait for Az to see episode 5. I can't. But we'll end it there. Sorry again for the camera. Thanks, Eric, for being here. Thanks to the Moderatics. Thanks to everyone who left a super chat and donation. This will be on iTunes, Spotify, Audible. I need to get this on iHeartRadio too. It'll also be here on Nerdrotic Live for you to enjoy at any time. Nerdrotic.com. It's a website. We're working on it. We're working on it. That's eventually going to be the place. We'll do Friday Night Tights at Rumble, but if I'm going to do any alternative anything, it will be mine, and I'm going to do it on my site. So that will be. We've got Friday Night Tights tomorrow with Young Disparu, and of course Shad, who is now permanently on F&T. We're going to talk about Mandalorian, Picard season 3, Hollywood going broke, the complete apathy for Mandalorian, which was not good at all, and other things. Sunday on this channel, I will be joined by Quarterback Garrett, by Adam Krigler, and producer Exode Ghoul, and we're going to go over some ghost stories on Forbidden Frontier. And I think talk a little bit of some ancient technology stuff, but mostly ghost stories. And then we start another week. So again, thanks everyone. I know it's been interesting, the conversation for Picard, but it's no different than any normal fan stuff, I think. But I'll leave you with this. I still think it's a win. How many shows can we think of, even for one aspect of it, massively course corrected by listening to some of us? I can count it on one fucking hand, but it happened. That's what this is. And we don't get a lot of victories. We don't. Our biggest victory was the complete and utter devastation of the Rings of Power, right? But Star Wars ain't turning around. No, they're mucking around in a certain timeline and not moving their story forward. This, Picard Season 3, moves the story forward for the last time, probably. Doctor Who remains to be seen. Very skeptical. But they did go out and get RTD, bring back David Tennant. I mean, there's certain things they did that look great, but then RTD started moving his mouth and, didn't sound that great. So we'll see. Is Picard and Doctor Who too little too late? Probably. And the MCU is going into full apathy. And as Chuck Dixon said in our interview on Real BBC, when the door closes, it will be quick. And you're going to start seeing that door close because the money has dried up. So you're going to get a lot of white pills and things being canceled and Hollywood having begrudgingly to admit defeat. But I think a true victory is somebody getting in, even if they have to sneak in, and trying to give us something good. And then not only trying, and not only making it non-woke, and not only making it non-intersectional, they executed a enjoyable, entertaining story. Balance. That's what we seek. And I think at least we got this. So if you want, say goodbye to Star Trek. Because this is it. It's really sad if you think about it. It's really sad. You bastards. Sorry. They demonetized the stream. It's really sad. But if you want, say your goodbyes to Star Trek, and I will say this once again, I think this is a massive win if you choose to see it. Ciao.